7 grams of protein in each 1 ounce serving of peanuts, the highest protein content of all nuts. And by eating peanuts, we help reduce the risk of chronic diseases and improves in better weight management. Peanuts contain a trifecta of protein, fat, and fiber that helps control hunger. And peanut butter can be enjoyed with apple slices and smoothies and stir-fried dishes. And when you go shopping in the food market, look for freshly ground peanut butter that does not have any added sugars. Okay, almonds. Ready for a little bit about almonds? They contain 6 grams of protein per ounce. That's about 24 almonds in an ounce. 6 grams of protein, which is similar to an ounce of meat. That's pretty impressive. It's a powerful antioxidant, and they lower the risk of cancer and Alzheimer's disease statistically if you're on a regular diet of almonds. They improve your blood cholesterol level and cardiovascular health and weight maintenance. Munch on a handful as a mid-afternoon snack, or you can ease your hunger. And when it comes to dinner time, you can add toasted almonds to vegetable salads, stir fries, mix them with yogurt along with fresh fruit, ground the almonds and use them for breading and oven-roasted fish fillets and toppings on pasta. A lot of things we can do with nuts. And they, as I say, they're a powerhouse of nutrients. And lastly, I'll finish up with pistachios. And interestingly, about pistachios, they say that those people who take the pistachios and actually take the nut out manually rather than buy them shelled, actually have a better weight management than those people who just eat them, you know, from a bottle of already shelled pistachios. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, a little manual workout while you're snacking on pistachios. They are healthy in unsaturated fats, fiber, and B vitamins, and they have a good balance of all 9 essential amino acids. They help maintain a healthy blood glucose and cholesterol level, and important in weight management. You can add pistachios to smoothies, pasta salads, snack bars. Use it, you can puree it and use it as a spread on whole grain toast or crackers. You can grind pistachios with seasonings and make salad dressings or sprinkle it on fish and soups. So a lot of things we can do with nuts, and you know, I encourage our staff to help include nuts more regularly in the diet that we consume here at OCAMIC. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Yeah, I like a handful of nuts before dinner to wreck my appetite. I wish it worked better. Here's the opening remarks that I was going to open with. I'm a little nervous about doing this, but I think it needs to be said. We've probably all worked for bosses or have been in relationships where we felt that no matter how hard we tried to please, it was never good enough. How did you feel? For me, I just say to hell with it. Why should I try? It doesn't do any good. The agenda shows reports from Julio and Joel giving reports today. They're not going to be at the meeting. I sent the agenda out before I knew this. When we started the 2024 committee, I asked that comments be respectful and actionable. At first, I think we've tried really hard to do that and did a pretty good job. Unfortunately, we seem to have slowly regressed. Many of our comments, not all, in the last few committee meetings have not been respectful or actionable. Kevin has encouraged Julio and Joel not to attend our monthly meetings. I agree. Frankly, after the last few meetings, they have left not with actionable information, but just feeling beat up. Our committee was set up to be an information highway where we could guide dining services. We could tell them what we like and what we don't like, and they can in turn tell us what's possible and what isn't. The system has worked. We've shown a long list of changes that have been made in response to resident requests, and I'm not going to bore you with reading them again. Where we could have been saying thank you for listening and caring and responding, our dining staff feel that their efforts to improve and respond aren't worth it. They feel unappreciated. So when you get a good meal, say so. I know some of you are faithful to do that. When a positive change is made, send a thank you note for them to post on their bulletin board. They really enjoy it, and they really do post it. Changes in our communication system are coming, hopefully for the better. We'll see one of them in just a couple of minutes. Our best way of communicating is through the surveys. I know it doesn't sound like it. I know it feels like you're not heard. I understand your frustration over some of the things that are not working as we would like. I'm frustrated too, but we need to be patient. If you're only one voice in a survey and you're outvoted 20-1, chances are you won't get what you want. If your voice is one of many and you're in concert, it will be heard. The more people that send in surveys, the better the communication is going to be to dining services. Next, we're going to see a change in the green dot system that we've been using for the last 6 weeks. I hope you like it. I think it'll work better, and we'll see how it goes. Pardon me? I'll tell you. Go ahead, Michael. Many of you are familiar with the color code system that are at the bottom of the surveys. If you'll note on your surveys, when you do them, the last page on the survey before it takes you to touchdown or info, whichever it is, shows what the ratings were by green dots from the previous survey period, the previous 3-day period. Those dots are calculated, those dots are based on what we call the TR score, which is taste and recommendation. When we started giving reports to dining services, Kathy Berg has been working diligently to summarize the information and print it out and send it both print and email to dining services. But it's been a bunch of numbers on a page, and for them it's like drinking out of a fire hose. They just don't have time to look at it. So we developed a color system where they could look at the report and instantaneously tell where they had a problem and where they didn't. That score is based on your taste rating from the surveys, number of stars 1 through 5, and the recommendation score. How would you recommend that to another resident? And we base that on a 1 through 5 score. We take those two scores and add them together and multiply it by 10 to get a score based. The score range is now 20 to 100. If you rate the taste and the recommendation both at 1 star, it gives you a 1 plus 1 is 2 times 10 is 20. If you rate them both 5, you get a rating of 100. So that's how we started. So Michael, if you can go to the next slide. We kind of made a guess that where would the scores lie and what might be a good range for the colors. We thought green would be a good score, yellow would be a caution, and red would be a thumbs down. And so we picked 70, we picked 65 as our cutoff, 64 as our cutoff for green, thinking that anything above that would be a pretty good meal. Between 60 and 65 would be a caution, and below 60 would be red. Turns out the bar was too low. All the dots were green. Well, everybody doesn't get an A, and every kid doesn't get a trophy. And that's what happened, what has happened. Almost all of our dots have been green. So if everything comes up green, I guess we don't have to get any better. That's not the message we're trying to send. There are some good meals, a lot of them, but there are some meals that could be better. If you can go to the next slide, Michael. So we've adjusted the scores. And this is how it would have been scored over the last 6 weeks. About 30% of the scores would be green. That's anything 80 and above. Anything between 70 and 79 and a half would be a yellow. So these meals are okay, but they could use a little work maybe. Maybe we could look at them and make them better. Anything below 65 and below is red. These meals, and there are a few of them, got very poor comments. And these are meals that seriously need to be looked at, in residents' opinion, or need to be changed, or maybe eliminated. So now we have a system that everybody doesn't get an A, and the dining staff can look at the numbers, look at the colors, and very quickly say, these are good, these need some work, let's kick these out. And it gives them a chance to better use their time. Where they want to make a change, where they see a problem, they can go in and look at it and study that without having to study the whole mass of data. It should make the whole thing work better. And as you can see, over the last 6 weeks, about 1/3 of the meals would have been in each of the 3 categories. Now, we haven't changed the numbering system. And Dining Services has looked at the numbers and say, we know we got a 65 here and a 64. And they're both green, and so is this 95 that we got. They're not the same, and they knew that. So they're not upset about this. I hope this won't cause confusion. I hope that it will make the system work better. And I hope that more and more people will start filling out surveys. I can't emphasize enough, that is really the best way to get the information to dining and make our meals better. And that's what we all want. Thank you very much. Now, in response to residents' request, residents are now having significant input into the menus. And our committees have been working diligently to gather data, and you've been filling out surveys and getting them, and Judy's been correlating all that, and she's going to present that information. Thank you. I'm sorry. To get the surveys, send a request to either Michael or I that you want to be included. Because it isn't automatic. We don't want to flood everybody with emails that doesn't want them. So if you just put it in Michael's or my box with your email, and he'll get you on the distribution list. Mine's 2218, and Michael is that's the best way. Eve.
I want to be sure that I understand these numbers correctly. In my view, if 5 people order something and all of them like it, you get 100. If 100 people order something and all of them like it, you get 100. So you're not, this doesn't take into account the number of people who don't order anything because they don't like any of the choices. And so if you don't have those numbers, I don't know how you can tell what to give again, because if 5 people order one thing and nobody else likes it, it gets 100, you're going to order it again. If I understand the numbers, that's how it works. Is that right?
We can't deal with data that we don't get. And let me finish. Let me finish before you get upset, okay? We can only look at what we get, at the information that we get. If 100 people like something, I mean, this isn't the only thing that the kitchen's going to look at. If 100 people order something, hello, it must be pretty good. And look at the scores. Okay, that's a good one. If nobody orders it, well, maybe it didn't look right, or maybe it just didn't sound good, and nobody ordered it. So that doesn't go on the survey, but dining services has that information. It's part of the equation.
And so they also know if 100 people order it on day 1 and 2 on day 2, that tells them maybe no, or they thought it was going to be good, but they didn't like it.
Bingo.
They got that.
Now, the other thing that we're going to do, and I haven't covered this today because we don't have it worked out yet. We are going to send out a survey about what might be better about the dining experience. And we might even ask the question, do you or don't you often eat at the restaurant, and why? So we do need that information. We're going to try to find a way to get it, and we'll do our best. Thanks for your question.
If you're only reporting the taste and recommendation to the kitchen, what's the point of our putting down remarks that are asked for?
The remarks are part of it. You know, you put down why you like it and why you didn't, but also then it gives a chance to say why.
But that doesn't reflect in the numbers, which is what goes to the kitchen.
Everything goes to the kitchen.
Do they see all those remarks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bonnie, hang on, wait for the mic. State your name too, if you would, for the record.
Peg Owens. If it's true that Cisco has different grades of food, probably meats and everything like that, are we doing a disservice to our staff? They're not miracle workers if we give them low-grade items.
The comments often reflect what the resident thinks the quality of the ingredients was, so that does show up in the comments. That's about the best we can do for now. I will tell you that they have made significant upgrades in the quality of the food that they've been buying at a pretty significant cost increase, and Rose can deal with that in her remarks. I don't want to have this drag on too long because I've got a cutoff here pretty soon. I have to leave at 11:30, and that's in an hour. So we got to keep this within the time limit. So we'll keep it short.
Pat Collier, and I'll
Yeah.
speak fast. If you put down, I didn't order any of these, you should ask for an explanation why. That would help you understand.
There's a
people's-
slot to do that, I believe. Michael, isn't there? Yeah, there's a slot to answer that, why you didn't order any of these.
Okay, thank you.
And Bonnie had a question. Hang on, wait for the mic.
I'm Bonnie Eady, and I've only been here 2 weeks, but I ate here for a while before we moved here. One thing I really dislike is when I get a dish of vegetables or a salad, it's overflowing the bowl. I don't know how.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
sorry,
legally
Bonnie,
eat
I'm
it.
going to cut you off. The purpose of this discussion is not to discuss individual meals. I don't want to get into that right
I'm
now.
talking about every meal where I order a salad or a side dish. It's overflowing the bowl. I'd either like less food or I'd like a bigger dish.
Put it on the surveys.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you. Yeah, you can also ask to have it on a plate or a larger dish. Thank you, Pam. Okay, Judy.
Okay, Michael? We have the results of that winter survey that you just filled out, and I'm really pleased to let you know that we had 133 people who went through the entire survey. I'm disappointed that we don't have 400, but I'm pleased that we have 133. For some reason, there were 10 who started and did not finish, so there were actually 143 who entered into that survey initially. And remember, this is for the always available. We're not talking about the specials now. We're talking about the always available menu. And for the first result, we're on salads. And as you look at this, you may not be surprised at all. Number one was the Bonnie Blue with the most number of positive responses. The second was the 1905. And then the beet and the Caesar salad are very close. 67 and 68 respondents indicated in those cases that they wish to keep those salads. I'm not going to address the none of these because that didn't give us, it just told us who didn't answer on that one. As we move on to handhelds, or otherwise known as sandwiches, this is going to pose a problem for us. You'll see that number one at 64 was Reuben. Number two at 62 was Cuban. Number three at 50 was the Rachel. And if you know those three sandwiches, you know they're all very much alike. So in the fact of removing some sandwiches from the current menu and putting in all three of these, I don't think so. It's going to be a decision we'll have to make, and hopefully we'll be able to use the other two more frequently as a sandwich of the week. But I thought it was interesting to see how everything else laid out. As I say, the third one was the Rachel, but then we go down to 46, 43, and even 19 for meatball. So it's sort of interesting as you see what these 133 people indicated were their preferences. Moving on to vegetarian, and here I will comment about none of these. There were 37 responders who said none of these, and I'm assuming these are people who say, never in the world would I ever eat a vegetarian dish. But as we look at these numbers, number one was ratatouille. Number two was cheese ravioli. And then tied for third is the autumn bowl and manicotti. And then from there we have basically plant-based meatloaf, which dropped way below. Under entrees, this was a little, there's a bigger spread here because there were 10 choices, and of which you could only choose 3. Number one was the roasted chicken, not surprising at all. That's really, I think, has been a popular response in the past. Number two was lamb chops. Number 3 is chicken piccata, or piccata, excuse me. And that was at 51. And then if you look at the next numbers, it's 36, 35, 34, 32, all very close, sort of for fourth place, if you want to call it that. The beef tenderloin, beef stew, the fried shrimp, the boneless short ribs, and the chili over rice. It's no wonder that the kitchen has a hard time satisfying all of us all the time, every day, 24/7. And the last slide is the sides. And sweet corn and beets are number 1. Number 2 was baked beans. And 3 was squash. And then okra and tomatoes, not one of my favorite, but okra and tomatoes came in at 47. So those were the responses from the 133 people. And I hope each one of you was one of those 133. The next step will be that I'll send this information in a slightly different format, in a spreadsheet rating from the top item in each group to the lowest item each group. I'll send that spreadsheet to Rose and her culinary team. And then that team, Steve and I, will take a look at this data again in connection with what we all ordered on each of those fall menu items. And then we'll take a look at what might go off and what might come on. We will have a preview of that winter menu on January 3rd, which is our next dining committee meeting. And the winter menu is intended to roll out the week of January 6th. Before I turn the mic over, do I have any questions? Good. Oh, Kevin.
And between the Rachel and the
Cuban and Reuben?
the Cuban, well, the Reuben, isn't the Rachel just
One is a turkey and the other is
Okay.
either pastrami or corned beef, I don't
Gotcha.
recall.
just
Yeah.
for clarification on
Yeah,
that? Right,
yeah.
thank you.
Anything else? Eve?
Are the sandwiches pre-made? If they're not pre-made, I don't see why it would be harder to have both a Reuben and a Rachel unless they're already made ahead.
A Reuben customarily has sauerkraut on it, and a Rachel is coleslaw. So it's a little bit different. And then also you can use turkey pastrami as opposed to corned beef.
But my point is, are they made as they're ordered or are they already pre-made?
No, they generally prep probably about 10 to 15 sandwiches for the day in preparation for the meal service.
So it's too hard to have the option of changing them. Well, I always ask for coleslaw with my Reuben and it comes out, they do it, so why couldn't people do that?
They generally